Now is Justin Dombrowski, local author. You're back, Justin. We had you in when First and Four got started,
Right.
And you've come back. It's nice to see you again. You've got a new book with you today.
Yep. It's called Erie's Backyard Strangler. Second book that I wrote right after Murder and Mayhem in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so we had you on back in the fall talking about murder and mayhem. Let's talk about this new book, Erie's Backyard Strangler. I mean, even the title just kind of draws you in.
Right.
Yeah.
So the idea for that came about looking for some new ideas for a new book, of course. And what happened is I started doing some research in the 1960s, and some of the cases came along, and it really was just a compelling story that culminated with a bunch of different of Erie's most infamous crimes that occurred in that time period. And I pitched it to my managing editor and felt it would be a good book. So.
And I was looking through this briefly. Some of the victims, they were older women, 60s,
Right.
70 years old, right?
Right, and in some of the cases during the early 60s, there was an epidemic in the city of attacks on older women, ranging from assault all the way, obviously, to murder. It definitely was something that at the time was very trying for the citizens of Erie, and makes for a compelling story.
Well, where do you get your research?
Well, I did a lot of research for this one with newspapers. There's different pulp magazines at the time that had different articles and insight from individuals. I also relied heavily on a couple thousand pages of court transcripts and documents. Really helped kind of flesh out the narrative about the individuals involved.
Yeah. What was different from writing that first book to writing this one, which you did pretty close together?
Yeah, so I wrote this one I was doing research, wrapping it up at the same time I did my first book. With this one, it was a little more difficult because it is more recent than the other one. There are still relatives of some of the victims that are alive. For the most part, they've been nothing but positive and supportive. And it presents its challenges because most of the individuals are still deceased that were involved in the case. So you're still having to kind of, pick through some black areas. But overall, it wasn't really as challenging, I'd say, as the first book.
I'm sure that there's all kinds of interesting tidbits and things that you were learning along the way. What do you think was one of the most surprising things that you learned while you were doing research for this book?
Well, for this book, I think it was most fascinating at that time is that 3 individuals would be convicted between 1960 and 1964 for various murders in Erie. Probably the most interesting and fascinating thing is that you had 3 different individuals that were committing similar crimes operating in Erie at the same time. So that was pretty bizarre and pretty unheard of. And that, the police at the time were pretty much on top of their game, did thorough investigations and captured these individuals quickly.
What is it about true crime that you think just draws people in?
I think it's everybody likes a good mystery. Everybody likes to be able to, especially if there's something that's unsolved or something that has a lot of questions. People like. It's like a puzzle. They like
Might
to
try to figure it out on their own. Yeah,
Right.
kind of right along with the storyteller.
And I think when you're reading something that's local, you can in your mind go to those places.
Right.
Where some of these
the
crimes and
familiarity
events are
of
happening.
it, yeah, draws you right in.
Where can folks get a hold of this?
So you can get a copy of this at all local bookstores, Werner's, Press, Erie County Historical Society, Barnes & Noble. You can also find it on Amazon as well. It'll be available in Kindle in the next week or 2. It's already available on Nook. So you can pretty much get it anywhere.
Okay, great.
Great.
Justin,
Justin.
nice to see you again. Thanks
Nice
for
to see you
coming
too.
in.
We'll
Thank
see you
you.
back for book number 3.
3.
Yeah, most likely.
All right, sounds good.